Okay, so you've got your file set up now the way it's got the right size, it's got the right file name, and now you're ready to go. This first video is I'm going to show you how to do a text design. So if you want to use just text, that's fine. That could mean you use one letter, that could mean you use two letters, that could mean you use more. It just depends on the font you use and what letters you're doing, okay? Because the thing we are using to carve with is a 1/4 inch bit. Okay, and just to kind of show you the size of a 1/4 inch bit on this size block, okay, um, it is that big, okay? So whenever you're picking a font on this, this thing right here, this circle has to be able to fit inside, okay? If you're choosing to do one of these kinds of cuts, these are called pockets. Pocket is where the bit goes all on the inside of that letter and carves out everything inside of it, okay? These three right here are pocket carves. So if you like the way these look, you need to make sure you use a big font. If you want to do a profile cut, profile is where it traces around the outline. Okay, you don't need to do as big of a font for this. It's just you just got to try it out and see. That is the good thing about this program, is that you can try things out and see if you like it. If you don't, you just delete it and you do something different. Okay, so let's start with just one letter. Okay, if you want to do a one letter design, you would click the text tool right here, and this pops up. Okay, you can type whatever letter you want. I'll do an R. Okay, now I've already had this font selected, but I have a big fat font. Okay, if you look through this list and you see fonts that are really dark like these, those are the bigger fonts. Now I'm on my computer, and so you might not have all of these fonts, so don't try to look for the one that I use because it might not be there. But just scroll through and find one. Like these right here wouldn't really work. This one might work, and I think you have this one, so I'll use this one. So this is called Arial Black. Okay, right now it doesn't matter what size you make this thing. If your thing ends up, if it happens to be tiny like this, okay, that's okay. It doesn't matter. All right, so just type the letter you want in the font you want, and then just kind of scroll down and hit close. Okay. We don't care about the size right now because we can resize this using the corners. Right? If I want to make this bigger, let's say it's not selected. I have to select it by clicking one time. I use my left mouse click one time, it turned pink, and you have to click again, and it turns into these handles now. Remember, unless you want it to look funny, use these corner handles here. Don't use the edge. Edge would be like north, south, east, and west. You want to use these corner ones because the corner ones make it change proportionally. So as the height is getting bigger, so is the width. If you just use the edges, this would just change the height and not the width. And so maybe that's the way you want it, but if it's not, make sure you use those corners. Again, you click it one time, you click it again, and you get these things, and then you can resize this. If you want this thing to be a specific size, there is a button for that right here. No. Oh yeah, right here. Set selected object size. So I can go in here and say, hey, I want this text to be, let's make it 3 inches tall. And you can hit apply. Now that text is 3 inches tall. And you can eyeball this thing to the center if you'd like. Okay. Now, if eyeballing is not working, if it's not getting right where you want it, there is a tool right here that aligns things. So I click this. And if I want this thing centered, like centered horizontally, centered vertically, I want to go up here to align to material and pick this one. It does both. So now that thing is dead in the center. Just make sure that you don't make your letter too big to where you're getting within a 1/4 inch of the edge. Okay? So when you're making your text size, 3 is about as big as you can make it, because if the whole thing is 3.5 and then this is 1/2 inch or a 1/4 inch, sorry, 1/4 inch. If this is a 1/4 and this is a 1/4, that equals a 1/2. And so this is actually a little too big. So let's make the bigger one of these 3 and hit apply. Okay. Now that's as big as I can make this thing. Now, if you want to do different if you want to have multiple letters, let me show you how to do that. So if you don't like this, just hit delete on the keyboard, which you're using a Windows machine now on this project, so you can just hit delete, not backspace, delete, and it goes away. If you want to do 2 letters, okay, you can do it different ways, all right? You can do it like this, where those 2 letters kind of intersect each other. If you do this though, the resin will flow between the 2 things. Maybe you want that, maybe you don't. So I'll first show you how to do it without that. So you could draw text, and let's say I want to do my initials, KR, okay? So if you want it like this, you could have it just side to side like that. You could even do, you know, another text box, and then I could have 4 letters, like in a square. You can do whatever you want, as long as when you get to the step in a little bit where you have to do the cut toolpath, if it looks good, then you can do that. All right, so if I wanted to move this, I could move that. I could move that up here and do another one if I wanted to. But let's say I wanted to do one like this, where the letters intersect. Here's how you do that. First thing I need to do is I need to right click, and I need to convert to vectors. What that's going to do is it's going to turn it from a text into a shape. Just like when we did with on Illustrator, we converted outlines. That's what this is doing. So convert to vectors. You'll see that it dashes the line. That's how you know it's a vector. Now, just be careful with letters that have middles in them. If you ever need to move this thing around, make sure you select both things where it's all pink. If you don't, if you just do this and you try to move it, then it's going to move just the inside, or the outside, not the inside. Okay, so let's put this thing, I'm going to select both of these. I'm going to click it again to be able to move it. So in addition to resizing, that's how you also move something. So I'm going to click right here. I'm just going to move this down to where it's overlapping. Now, again, remember, you're trying to make this thing, this drill bit, this router bit fit in here. And so you wouldn't want to do it like this, where it's just barely overlapping, because it might not be able to fit through that little gap right there. So I'm going to move this up here just a little bit. Okay, now there's a cool tool in Cut 2D where you can just kind of trim lines away. So I can trim this line and this line away. It's right here. It's a pair of scissors called Interactive Trim. And I can click that, and I can just snip that away and snip that away. And now that thing is merged together. Okay, so now if I wanted to, I could highlight all of this thing and then resize it this way with both of them connected now. I can make it bigger. Then I could go over here and say, hey, I want that to be centered. And now that thing is centered. Okay? So again, you can do 1 letter. You can do multiple letters. You can choose different fonts. It's just, you got to keep in mind that this drill bit, let me draw another one just so now you kind of know what we're talking about. This thing right here has to fit in. So this 1/4 inch thing is going to carve all of this out. And if it can't fit in a certain place, like if it can't fit through there, like that, then it just won't cut it out. And so at this point, you don't really know, you can't see the preview yet, but in a following video, you'll be able to check to see what it's going to look like when you actually carve this out. Okay, so at this point, you have watched this video now. You can either go on to this one on making a toolpath, or if you'd like to go and see how I do the SVG icon designs, go watch that one next.